Okay, guys, it is Coronagate day 4, and I'm going to be talking about Acts chapter 14. And the reason why I'm going to be talking about Acts chapter 14 is we've got a live interactive Bible study on Facebook called Church O'Clock, which runs Monday to Friday at 7:30, which is normally when churches do stuff. That's why we've called it Church O'Clock. And I did it yesterday, and it was an epic fail. The audio kept cutting in and out. It was, I had to delete it. It was horrendous. But as I was kind of reflecting and pondering on Acts chapter 14, and just pondering about the situation with the coronavirus and pondering upon the whole situation with the sorry, I'm holding it in my hand rather than using a stand because I can't be bothered at this time of the morning getting things set up. But it just kind of got me thinking about a few things which all tie together, or at least they tie together within my mind. So let me tell you what happens in Acts chapter 14, and hopefully it gives you a bit of inspiration for the day. There's a church in Antioch, and the church in Antioch becomes a really important church within the book of Acts. There's a multicultural leadership team, and this leadership team, you can read about it in Acts 13. They send a guy called Barnabas and a guy called Paul on a missionary journey, and these guys go out and they start planting churches. Now the interesting thing is, like the coronavirus, which jumped from one species to another, we see the gospel going from the Jews, and now we are going to see it moving into the non-Jewish world. So we're starting to see Gentiles, that's just non-Jews, coming to faith and churches being planted amongst them. So this is a big novel thing within the book of Acts. Cornelius, who was a Roman, he's got saved and so's his family. But now we are seeing churches being planted in non-Jewish cities filled with non-Jewish people. So what that made me kind of think about is the importance of just pushing forward, and within the particular moment that we are in within our nation and within the world. Also within the mission of the church, we've just got to push forward. I just think, I've had a number of messages from you guys, which I love and I appreciate, and I just thank you for just talking about what a great job that we are doing over at Hope Church on social media. I've got to be perfectly honest, guys, we are absolutely winging it, but my philosophy is this: He has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. We will make mistakes. We will feel incredibly self-conscious speaking into a camera rather than speaking to an audience, particularly when it's shaking a bit because I can't be bothered to get a stand. We will have to do things like Facebook live videos and then put them down because they are absolutely horrendously bad. But guys, I know that I've got friends with churches 10 times the size of us, 20 times the size of us, churches with pastors in creative arts and whole media teams and guys, I'm just encouraging you, just get in the game. It doesn't have to be perfect, just come on guys, innovate, create. Let's just do mission and pastoral care and discipleship and worship and youth work, but let's just do it in a different way. I always think if a 14-year-old boy, in a trailer park somewhere in the States, is able to kind of light up social media, then guys, I'm sure we can at least do something. Be like the church at Antioch, kind of innovate and create and push forward, and just let the gospel advance. This could turn out, I think it will, all things work together for good. This thing could turn out for our good. Then what we see is like they're preaching and people are getting saved and people are getting healed, and they end up in this place. I think it's Iconium or Lystra. I should have my Bible here and should be reading through it, but I don't. But they're in a place, Lystra or Iconium or somewhere like that, and there's a guy who's been disabled since his birth. So they pray. They see that he's got faith to be healed, and they pray, and this guy gets healed. Just a point on that. Faith is incredibly important, but faith is not an excuse for foolishness. I've seen some ministries, and they are still kind of laying hands on the sick and they are still gathering together. Look, I believe in the supernatural. I believe that God heals, but I also know that Timothy had a stomach condition and he wasn't healed. It said, take some wine for your stomach's sake. And Paul had a thorn in the flesh. If you read the book of Galatians, I think it's a problem with his eyes, because in the book of Galatians it says that they would have taken out their eyes and given them to Paul. And then he says how he wrote the letter with such large font. And church history tells us that Paul had a problem with his eyes. So I think it's a problem with his eyes, and the Apostle Paul didn't get healed. So guys, don't be stupid. I mean, it shows that you're full of something, but not full of the Holy Spirit. Don't be muppets, okay? So they heal this guy, and they're in Lystra or Iconium or somewhere. I don't know, Derby. I don't know, and they heal him. And what happens is the people in the city, they start to think that Paul is the god Hermes and Barnabas is the god Zeus. Now, Zeus was the chief god of the Greco-Roman pantheon. It just means their collection of gods. And Hermes was his spokesman. So Barnabas is probably the leader at this point. Paul is probably the teaching pastor. That role switches. Paul becomes the leader. But they want to sacrifice to them. And Paul and Barnabas are like, are you blinking kidding me? We are only men. Now, the reason why they want to do that is there was a tradition in that place that Hermes and Zeus rocked up, and nobody offered them hospitality except for an elderly couple, and therefore the place was destroyed. So they didn't want to make the same mistake twice. But Paul and Barnabas are like, there's no way you should be doing this. You know, our message is what's important, not we as people. And again, I think that's something that we need to be conscious of at this point. I think if anything we are seeing the church moving more and more to the edges rather than staying at the center. I'm loving what's happening. We've got loads of messages from people talking about what a great job Hope Church is doing. I just want to say we're just an ordinary church, but the truth of it is what we are doing is decentralizing. Yes, you're seeing a lot of me, and that's just to steady the ship and to show our guys that we've kind of got these things in hand, that God is on our side, and we're not afraid of this, but we're trying to push as much as we can to our ministry team leaders, to our life group leaders. We're even just pushing as much as we can onto the people within our church. And, we believe that the only person who is able to rip open his shirt and have an S on his chest is Jesus. He's the only superhero within the faith. So don't get caught up with it yourself, but also don't get caught up with it with the worship of these celebrity preachers. There's lots we can learn from these people, but our faith is not dependent upon them. Neither is our understanding of the Bible. Our faith is dependent upon Jesus Christ alone. Okay, that's it. End of chat. And then what happens is they won't let these people sacrifice to them and treat them like gods, which is a good thing, I think. But anyway, but the crowd, they flip out and they basically, they want to kill him. And Paul says, through much tribulation shall you enter the kingdom of God. And there's a whole sermon in there, but I won't do that. So they kind of move on, and then they're planting churches, and they are appointing elders. And again, elders are leaders of a church, right? They're appointing elders in a very short space of time. They're appointing people which are not even experienced or qualified in the normal sense. And that's really interesting. We normally wait till someone's about 40 years old. We wait till they've got a Bible college theology degree, that they've been a youth worker, then an assistant pastor, and then they become the pastor after going through a bunch of interviews. But although there's nothing wrong with that, in certain situations and circumstances, you just have to act quickly. We at Hope Church, we have appointed Jamie Haxby, who was our outreach worker. He's become the assistant pastor in charge of mission. We've also appointed someone else, Skylar. He's now our YouTube pastor. We've appointed someone else, Paula Decentralising, which is just the coolest name in Christendom. She is now our Instagram pastor. And we're just like, look, at the end of the day, we are in a crazy time, and we are just going to have to act quickly. Once everything settles down, then we will figure out what things look like going forward. But sometimes you just have to act. And, I just want to say, guys, yeah, sometimes the processes that we have, I believe in planning. I'm an ex-military guy, but, I've got my sermons planned out for a year. I print off my calendar for that week, and I know what I'm doing, and I go in prepared. I know sometimes you all think I wing it, and I do a bit, but I'm that guy. But in situations like this, and in situations in life, sometimes you have to act quickly, and not every T is crossed and not every I is dotted, but that's okay. And I think that's what Paul and Barnabas did. They said, look, these churches, they need leaders, and they need leaders quick. They'd only been there for a few weeks, and they just appoint leaders. And then what happens? Paul and Barnabas visit for churches that they have planted before. As they come back to Antioch, their sending church, which is cool because they maintain a relationship. I think sometimes we just see mission as like a little bit of a jolly, or church planting as a little bit of a jolly, but they maintain relationship, and Paul will continue to write to these churches and love these churches. These are not just notches on the belt for Paul and Barnabas. So hopefully, guys, there's stuff that you can get from that, whether you're in church leadership or just in life. But I just want to say, have an absolutely amazing day. It's Friday. Hopefully, you've got that Friday feeling, even if you're in self-isolation and you are stuck indoors. But we so love you, and we are rooting for you. And if there's any way we can serve you, just let us know. But just keep loving Jesus and just take care of each other. Later. Bye.